Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Nicole, a blind stay-at-home mom. Thanks for joining me today for the second part of my late winter / early spring unseasonably warm weather garage cleanup. Okay, here's kind of where we left off. So I need to get some more stuff up into the up top storage. I need to start cutting down these boards, and then these boxes are mostly things that need to go to donation. And then I think most of the stuff up here and up here needs to go to our county recycling program. Some of the boards I can cut down with the miter saw. Some of the boards are deeper and I'll need to cut down with the circular saw.
I'm starting with putting away the overhead storage. There are a couple of small bins from Christmas and some pieces of Halloween and Christmas decor that needed to be placed in their respective bins. We mainly keep holiday and seasonal storage up here, including our massive Halloween cemetery display my husband and I work on together. I'm gonna go on a tangent here because I want to tell you about our Halloween display. Our Halloween decorations are something I can't wait to share with you guys. We started working on it during the pandemic, or maybe a year before that. I can't honestly remember, but my husband designs and cuts out all the tombstones. I largely weather prep them and paint them, and we set up the yard and lighting together, although lighting is mostly him. Other than the colors, I love purple, blue, and green for our Halloween graveyard. A few years ago, I built the creepy fence you see hanging upside down on the wall underneath our overhead storage. The tops of each fence spindle are little skulls. I love how it looks. I painted it black and aged it with metallics and a rusty color. I might rebuild the fence this year if I have the capacity, because I've learned a lot since the first one I built, and I didn't make it as strong as I'd like it to stand the test of time. Each year we try to add 1 or 2 tombstones to our display. Each year we try to involve our kids in designing a tombstone that has something to do with the things that they're interested in, whether that be shows or popular characters or something like that. I don't know what the deal is, but putting those things away on the overhead shelves was something that I've been putting off for a while, even though it only took a few minutes. Now, cutting down these boards. This I've been putting off since last summer or even longer. Some of them we added to the pile when we changed out the shelves on our 2 metal storage shelves. We replaced the existing not quite half-inch shelf board with 3/4 inch plywood shelves. It was such a great swap out, but the old ones need cut down and disposed of. They're pretty gross. A number of these boards I'm cutting down are also leftover pieces of white melamine shelving boards we've used for various projects. I'm using the circular saw to cut these in no guide or track because they don't need to be perfect, they just need to be smaller to fit in our trash can. I laid down a piece of 1.5 inch thick pink insulation foam board on the floor as my sacrificial piece if the saw cuts into it. It took me a long time to get comfortable using the circular saw independently. My husband is my biggest cheerleader, and he's always supportive of me working toward whatever skills or completing whatever projects I want to. He patiently shows me how to safely use our tools, and he continuously empowers me to continue conquering my fears. Story time. Some blind people go to a program called Adjustment to Blindness Training to learn alternative techniques to do things everyone has to do, but to learn ways to do them as a blind person. Things like cooking, cleaning, how to use the computer or a cell phone without sight, how to read Braille. Some programs like this also include a shop or industrial arts class. Mine did. I suspect it was good and an important introduction at that time of my life, but I had a really bad experience when I was using the table saw. Had a board kicked back into my belly, and I pretty much refused to use the thing ever again. I only got as into DIYing and using power tools to create and build things as I am since I've been in my 40s. Honestly, I think the way my husband and I work together when he's teaching me things is a critical piece of me becoming more independent with all of it. He explained safety and precautions to me, not like I was stupid, but I suspect really thinking about my physical and spatial awareness as a blind person, and what I could use to be the safest. Like I said, the circular saw took me a long time to get comfortable with. Once I got comfortable with it, I told him to stay with me for a few tries, and I'd tell him when I was ready to be on my own. He respected that. He's never looked over my shoulder unless I asked him to, and only takes on a task if I ask him to. We've not found a great way for me to follow drawn lines with the jigsaw, for example, so when we build our kiddos' fairy garden table, you'll see him do most of the work with the jigsaw. Now, the miter saw is another story. In the world of saws, if anyone is a beginner and they want to become more comfortable and build confidence with power tools like this, I would encourage learning how to properly use a miter saw. I love it. I love that it feels so well controlled and predictable. Even the power it has feels controlled and limited to something I felt more comfortable with long before I was ready to work with the circular saw. I'll come back to this in just a moment after we set up stuff for cleaning up the garage.
I'm gonna vacuum up in here so that I can put these guys back there, and then they'll be there temporarily. We're gonna be moving them into the garbage.
All that said, I've never used a table saw again since that experience when I was in my 20s. We have agreed that we won't invest in a table saw until and unless it's a saw stop. And at that point, we'd love to have more of a workshop space to work on more of our projects. After cutting down all the boards into more manageable pieces for disposal, I started cleaning up, vacuuming with our shop vac. Before anyone says anything, we do have a larger head for it. I just use this little one in part because I can't see the sawdust or debris at all if I'm standing up. Okay, so here I finished vacuuming the area by our hanging tools and went ahead and stacked up all of the boards that I just cut down. I'm going to be gradually moving those boards into our garbage can, a few at a time. Back to clean up. So I crouch down or kneel down to vacuum with the shop vac. The reality is I can see some of the mess and some of it I can't. The lighter yellow sawdust where it's thick, I can see that. Sometimes dirt or leaves I can't see at all because our garage floor is unfinished. Most of the time I just swipe the vacuum head around in an arch and try to reach as much of the area as I can and hope for the best. I'd love to get this garage floor finished, but man, it's such an expensive project, and despite that I spend a lot of time out here in the spring, summer, and fall, it's just hard for me to justify the expense of getting the garage floor done. I do love to vacuum the miter saw off after I use it if I'm able to. I like it being all shiny and clean. It's geeky, but it just makes me happy. I keep thinking I need to look into how to hook up our miter saw to my shop vac to minimize some of the sawdust. I try to keep this garage space as well picked up and vacuumed as I can throughout the spring, summer, and fall, and then I do just a couple of cleanups like this at some point in the winter or early spring, basically when it's actually tolerable temperature-wise out here. I've really started leaning into progress over perfection around our home, especially in the last couple of months.
Okay, here's where we're gonna stop.
In the last couple of months, our family experienced the loss of one of our closest family members. This has been and likely will continue to be one of the most difficult times we navigate through as a couple and a family, and I'm trying to figure out how to reset our home, routines, and life as we try to establish this new normal forced upon us. I tend toward perfectionism, always have, but I recognize that having clear counters or dust-free shelves isn't going to matter 6 months or 10 years from now. I hope you got a little motivation from today's video. Do some sort of project that you've been putting off that ends up only taking a few minutes. Or maybe you try something you're scared of. Thanks for watching. Until next time.